Kelly, it's day 4 of Mobile World Congress. We're kind of over the hump here, but I'm curious to hear from you what stood out.
Well, let's see. So I spent a lot of time with the test and measurement folks. Some really cool stuff. For me, it was great to actually see some of their equipment. I think I had the best demo that I've ever had in my life at the Keysight booth. Just some really, really cool visualization of 5G over-the-air testing. There's a lot going on in this area in terms of really getting from sort of that initial research and development phase into, commercialization and actual rollouts. And so, there's still a lot of pieces to be worked out. So, I think that was really what stood out for me.
Yeah, you mentioned actual rollouts. We finally got some clarity from Sprint about their plans.
Yes.
About a week ago, Verizon gave some details. AT&T's live in 12 cities with more to come. But network's just one part of it. If you walk down to the Qualcomm booth where I was this morning, they have 7 or 8 actual devices that are commercial ready and will be shipping and able to be purchased by me this quarter. So I'm really excited to see how that shapes up. Another thing that's a big part of this is distribution of compute throughout the network to really open up some of these latency sensitive applications.
Yes.
I think you had a discussion this morning around Edge, correct?
I did. Well, I was talking with Gordon Mansfield about some of the stuff that's going on with AT&T's 5G build out. And one of the questions I asked him was, how are you guys thinking about, edge compute when you're working on building out the radio access network? And he basically said it's definitely something that we're thinking about. And he sort of talked about how some of the big venues and whatnot, things like stadiums, could potentially be sort of a public-private arrangement for multi-access edge computing, where there might be some consumer-facing applications that are running there because you have you need so much capacity, and if you want to bring low latency, having things right there is really important. But at the same time, obviously AT&T wants to cover those kind of venues, and they already have, in a lot of cases, network equipment there anyway because they have DAS systems and all those other things. So yeah, it was interesting because they're really he basically said that some of the 5G partnerships that they've announced, they may not necessarily call out edge, but it's built in.
Okay, yeah, that's really interesting because, like I said, it's a big part of it, and again, another area of the strategy that's not really well articulated at the moment, and a lot of discussion about, does an operator own the edge? Is it something that a third party will provide?
Yeah.
Or does it just depend on the application? And it's probably going to be, yes to both of those.
So it's interesting because I'm about to go in a few minutes and meet with Mobile Edge X. And just last week, Deutsche Telekom announced that they have launched their Edge now with Mobile Edge X, which is their startup in this area. And one of their first customers is Niantic, the gaming company that did Pokemon Go. And then we also had AT&T announced an Edge deal this week as well. They're working with Microsoft. So I think we're starting to see some of these things actually come to light that operators are moving in this direction, and they're willing to partner with people to make it happen.
Yeah, we're standing outside of Dell right now. I was speaking with them throughout the week, and this is a huge part of their strategy in addressing their service provider business group is, taking that expertise that was born in that centralized data center and then distributing it where it needs to be. And is it an enterprise play? Is it a service provider play? Just in fitting it all together in a way that actually helps 5G live up to the hype. So another part of 5G I want to touch on here quickly is this massive support for IoT.
Absolutely.
And this ultra reliable, low latency communications. So how do you, if you're an operator or an infrastructure provider, address these different verticals, manufacturing, automotive, whatever? There's some disparity, clearly. Nokia seems to be interested in going directly to the industry and setting up a private network. Here's everything you need, go connect, do what you need to do. Whereas on the other side of the coin, you see Ericsson, they're more interested in keeping their traditional sales model where they go through the operator to the end user. I don't know what the correct one is, but it's significant, I think, that there's that big of a difference of opinion in how do you bring that to market.
Yeah. So I had an interesting conversation with someone who was talking about how 5G is really, in a lot of cases, almost all IoT. When you think about the use cases, okay, not so much maybe enhanced mobile broadband, but in some cases security cameras and some of the things that will be making use of that. Obviously, massive machine type communications is. But even when you start talking about ultra low latency, a lot of the use cases are actually IoT use cases. So IoT is, it isn't just one part of 5G. It's almost all the parts of 5G are really IoT related.
Speaking of ultra low latency, I saw a industrial robot dance.
Yeah. Yes. There was a lot of dancing. There were a lot of robots.
Final thoughts?
Well, this was my first Mobile World Congress covering it from the ground. So it's big, it's bright, it's shiny, and we're going to be talking about it for the rest of the year.
All right. Well, it's great catching up, Kelly.
Yep. Have a good one, Sean.